coil's not connected to anything, that you'll induce an EMF, but there'll be no current. So if there's no current, there's no magnetic field due to the coil, and there's no resistance. And if you're just generating a voltage on a voltmeter, you're not doing any work, you're not creating any power, you're just setting up a voltage. But if you let that voltage do something like light a light bulb or go through the coil, so if you allow current to go through the coil, then when you go in, you induce an EMF, and it always induces a current according to Lenz's law that opposes the change in flux. But what that means on the coil that you saw in many cases is if you try sticking a magnet into the coil, you'll feel resistance in the form of something pushing back on you. And if you try and pull it out, you'll feel resistance in the form of something attracting you. And so when you take the generator and you hook it up to nothing, the only power you put in is to overcome the friction of the generator. If it were a frictionless generator, you could just start it spinning and it would spin. And even the generator we had, the crank would turn 2 or 3 or 4 times on its own. And if you hook it up to the voltmeter, it pretty much did the same thing because the voltmeter is just reading the voltage. There's not really any current going through the voltmeter. So there's very little current going through the device. And when you hook it up to the light bulb, now there's a current. And you say, well, how does the current through the light bulb affect the generator? Well, what it means is the generator is this. Well, it's really, the cranking thing. So if there's current going through the light bulb, then there's current going through the coil. And so you feel the resistance. And the more the current, the more resistance you're going to feel. So the most current was just to short out the leads. You get the maximum current. And it's confusing, I know, because you think, well, there's no resistance. Well, no resistance, no electrical resistance means a lot of current. It means a high mechanical resistance. So that's where people get confused. And you say, oh, that's a lot to say. I'm already exhausted. The short answer would be the power out in a generator is when you have a voltage and a current. And the work in, by conservation of energy, the work that you do is going to equal the power out. So in this case, the idea was, it says crank at a constant speed. So the speed determines the voltage, right? If you crank like this, you get 3 volts, and now it's 4 volts, and now it's 5 volts. So the speed is just the voltage, but the current's going to regulate how much resistance you feel. So when you want to pay attention to whether you're getting resistance or not, you want to pay attention to the current, because the current is going to determine how much power you get. And by conservation of energy, the power in, the cranking you do, has to be, it's going to actually be greater than, right? Why? Because there's some friction in the machine. You're not going to get 100% efficiency. So the power in has to be at least equal to or a little bit greater than the power out. So this is a good equation to use when you're answering that question as well. Okay, what else? Don't tell me you don't have any questions. They'll wait until after class. Yeah, what else? I